Good morning, everybody. My name is the Saubrey Boyz Walefatse from the Big R. As you know, that the Big R solution, we are dealing with nothing else but the responsible R words, as articulated in English words, like reading, research and responsibility, relationship, resilience, you name them, response, results, all those positive R words. That's the Big R. Now we are saying, in any situation, especially issues of finance, when you want to resolve them, go for the R words, and then you'll be able to resolve whatever that is happening. Now you may ask, why are we doing sports? Money is there in sport, big money for that matter. And then the topic that we are going to talk about, it needs a lot of research. So that is why this morning we decided to invite an advocate for that matter, a gentleman who's well experienced when it comes to labor issues, all right? Not only labor issues, issues of discipline, all right? So you are quite aware that we had already started, myself, Lynn Twendley, talking about what we see as far as the PSL is concerned. So we are not lawyers, So that is why we brought an expert in the subject to dissect this thing so that we can understand. The objective is to educate you out there, all right? We're not here to condemn or pass any judgment, but we give you information that you make your own independent judgment according to the information that you have at your disposal. So before I do that, let me welcome Last Born today. He has not been with us for some time. Last Born, welcome to the show. This morning we are having Advocate Mahantola, who's gonna discuss with us from a legal perspective what is arbitration, what is discipline, all right? Since you are looking at the issue of Sekhukhune and the PSL. So we brought him as an expert to give us his view. So if we can greet the viewers before I go to Ntwendley.
Good morning.
No, before you come in, Advocate, I just want the host to come in. Last one.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. I'm Mr. Shabalala, and to you, Advocate, and to the viewers out there, also to you, Mr. Jackie. Thanks for having me this morning.
All right. Jackie, kindly greet the viewers so that we can welcome the advocate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tao. Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to also greet our advocate and thank you for visiting us, and my colleague Tshepang, and you viewers at home. We're looking forward to a great show tonight. We've got so much to learn and we're looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Advocate, we would like to welcome you to the show. If you can greet the viewers, tell them who you are, probably give them your background and the knowledge that you are bringing, so that people can understand we are not just bringing somebody that we pick up in the street. Just give us that little bit background. It's very important. This is Advocate Mahantola. But before I can allow Advocate Mahantola to say that, let me tell you something, a bit story about myself and Advocate Mahantola. This guy is one guy that I really respect a lot. We are former teachers together. We are friends. He was a teacher, an English teacher, a very good teacher as a teacher. He produced very good results. He's got a very good history. And for information, I would consult with him if I want to understand some of the, tenses and what have you in English, because he's very good when it comes to that. And then generously so, he would definitely assist. So out of the blue, decided, not necessarily out of the blue, maybe that edge, and something that was, pushing him. Then he decided to, to move away to become a lawyer, all right? But before that, he got promoted, being from being a teacher, to a district official doing on issues of labor. Then he went out from the issues of labor. He went further, and then he worked for companies doing the very same issues of labor. And finally, he decided to enroll as a lawyer. Today he's an advocate. So that's a bit that I can give, but he will add more where I didn't add. So you can imagine, he's got a lot of experience, and then I think he has been doing labor issues for more than 10 years. But let me leave it to him. Advocate.
Thank you. That was a thorough introduction. Thank you very much, Mr. Tshabalala. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, viewers. Like Saubrey has already indicated, I worked with him in the past. I used to be a teacher, but something that Mr. Tshabalala has omitted is that himself and I were also involved in trade unions. You know, we were at some point, you know, officials of the trade union. So we, much as we do labor relations, we have been able to expose ourselves on both sides of the spectrum, you know, i.e. representing employees and then later also representing employers. But Mr. Tshabalala has outlined my curriculum vitae perfectly. I started as a teacher, I then went and worked for the Department of Education as a labor relations officer. I then went and ventured into the corporate world, and then I worked for quite a number of companies. And then in the process, I studied the law, and I studied the law up to the master's level. So I now practice as an advocate, a trust account advocate, an advocate that gets clients directly. I don't rely on briefs because the act has changed. There's a new act called the Legal Practice Act. So there are those kind of advocates like myself who can source clients directly. I must indicate that when Mr. Tshabalala invited me for these proceedings of this morning, I actually looked forward to participating in this particular platform. And I'm prepared to share the knowledge that I would have acquired in respect of the topic that we will be dealing with this morning. Thank you, Mr. Tshabalala.
Let me just add a little bit that, you know, lawyers, there is a magistrate court, there is high court, or there is regional court, there is high court, there is SCA, which is the Supreme Court of Appeal, there is the Constitutional Court. So now at the lower court, like magistrate court, attorneys are the ones who are making arguments, all right? And then if it goes up like high court, advocates are the ones who go there and be the one who are making arguments. But there are those advocates or attorneys who can be in the magistrate court and the high court. Now, Advocate Mahantola, as he has already said, that he can source clients directly. He's allowed to go to magistrate court and argue, and also the high court and argue. So I just wanted to give you that little bit perspective. Mr. Mahantola, am I correct or not before I introduce our subject?
Can function in lower courts, I can function in high courts. But basically, advocates are being trained, like you are correctly pointing out, to argue matters in court. In fact, the other way that we might use for advocates is that they are litigation specialists, you know, specialize in litigating, and they specialize in arguing matters, in doing research, you know, and in, you know, dissecting legislation as well as the applicable jurisprudence or case law. So you have pointed out correctly in terms of the function.
You have mentioned one of the R words, research. You are making research. Jackie, on this particular subject, you are the one who's going to lead us. Lead us on this subject. What is the issue at hand, where we want the expertise of advocate? So Jackie, just give us, let Jackie lead us first. What is the issue at hand before we allow the advocate to assist us?
Yes, Tao, thank you very much. Gentlemen, I'm so excited, and I'm really looking forward to learn you know, Advocate, you're inspiring me, and I want to learn more. And let's come to the main issue. Basically, what is happening is that there's two teams here involved, Sekhukhune FC as well as the Royal AM. And we're also including PSL and SAFA. Okay, what happened is that Sekhukhune played a game which was last week. They won that game and they were on 47 points. And then Royal AM was on 50 points. And then what happened is that after the DC, a decision was taken, or a verdict was taken, that the sanction, because Polokwane City did not honor a particular game, somewhere around in January. I don't know what took this long for this case to be dealt with. And then what happened is that Sekhukhune was awarded 3 points. And then that 3 points made the team, which is Sekhukhune, to get an advantage in terms of they got 50 points. And then on the other side, Royal AM has got 50 points. So Sekhukhune has got more goals as compared to Royal AM, which resulted to Sekhukhune having the top position as #1. And remember that the last games were yesterday. Both teams played yesterday, and then Royal AM played 1-1, and then they got a point. So they've got 51 points. And then on the other side, Sekhukhune won that game. So those points that were awarded by the arbitrator, the SAF arbitrator, were not added into the score of Sekhukhune. The reason being, the PSL lodged a complaint that they're going to sit down because they are not satisfied with the verdict. Why did the arbitrator give 3 points to Sekhukhune? There were other options that he was supposed to look at. For an example, they spoke about article number 57.13.16, whereby they also gave indications that he could have fined the team 100,000, or he could have fined them or come up with another sanction, not to dock points. So as a result, the games played yesterday, as we speak right now, Royal AM are the champions of the Glad Africa Championship, but they don't have any trophy because the PSL and SAF are still deliberating on this particular issue. Hence, today we've got our own brother here to assist us. I don't know if maybe I've put it correctly.
All right.
Yeah.
Last one, I don't know whether you want to add before Advocate come in on this particular subject. Do you have any information that you'd like to add so that the Advocate has clarity and Advocate gives us what does the law says?
No, Mr. Chabalala, Mr. Jackie has said everything actually. Everything that he has just told us right now is all that I know also. So he was spot on actually. So we would just love the Advocate to just kindly explain more and just explain how do these things work, how the process works, and yeah, we just like to learn more and hear from you.
Okay. Advocate, I think our viewers should remember that we are a constitutional country. So whatever constitution, whether it's the constitution of PSL or any other organization or our own foundation, bigger foundation, it cannot contradict the constitution of the country. So that is why now you as a legal expert, you can come in here, because what does this mean? This might end up in court. So that is why we are soliciting your expertise and knowledge as far as this subject is concerned. Let me leave it to you, Advocate. I'm sure you have done enough research on this particular subject.
Yeah, no, thanks. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity once again. I think what we need to start looking at is to define this arbitration process that took place under the auspices of the PSL. But before I do that, I just want to show you that, in fact, this arbitration is sui generis, and I'll explain what I mean by sui generis. An arbitration, generally, is handled in terms of an act. There's an act that has been promulgated in the country. It's called the Arbitration Act. So all arbitrations that are handled privately are handled in terms of that particular piece of legislation. And then, of course, you will have arbitrations that are handled under auspices of statutory bodies, like the CCMA, for example. I think all of us will understand that once a person gets dismissed or there's an unfair labor practice dispute, that particular person can refer a dispute to the CCMA, and the CCMA will conciliate and later arbitrate and then issue an award in that regard. Now, this one, which is held under the auspices of the PSL, is called a disciplinary hearing / arbitration. That is why you'll see that in most cases they refer to a disciplinary committee, and yet that disciplinary committee has issued an award. It's not a decision like a decision that would be issued by an ordinary disciplinary committee. And I'll tell you why what I'm saying now is very important. Any award, whether that award is issued in terms of the Arbitration Act or is issued under the auspices of the CCMA or the Bargaining Council or the PSL itself, that award has a legal force. The force is such that that award is binding. The decision that is made from an arbitration is binding to the parties. Now, in order to deal with that decision, if, for example, let's say any party wants to challenge an arbitration award, which has the same status as this one that has been pronounced by the PSL disciplinary committee, such an award can be set aside through the courts. For example, if one is not happy with an award that has been issued by a commissioner of the CCMA, they'll take that award on review at the Labour Court. If, for example, there's an award issued in terms of the Arbitration Act, that award can be reviewed through the High Courts. Now, this one, emanating from the PSL, cannot be subjected to the legislation within the country. And I'll tell you why. The sporting bodies across the board, you name it, rugby, cricket, soccer, they have their own in-house dispute resolution mechanisms. You know, for example, if there was an unhappiness about this award, it cannot be taken to the High Court, it cannot be taken to the Labour Court. And that is why initially I said that this is a kind of an arbitration that we can say is sui generis. Sui generis meaning one of its own kind. It's different from other arbitration awards because it emanates from sporting formations. Now, I wouldn't want us to criticize the PSL, but let's look at it this way. The disciplinary committee is the PSL disciplinary committee, the committee that made this award. It's a PSL disciplinary committee. Now, once that award has been made, it is binding on the PSL itself. Now, in order for the PSL to challenge this particular award, they have to take it to the next level, maybe in a way of an appeal or a review, and then allow another forum, which is above this disciplinary committee, to be able to, you know, to either set it aside or to correct it or to do whatever that they deem fit with it, you know. Now, it is not for the PSL, unfortunately, to intervene in an arbitration award, which by law is binding, you know. I don't know in terms of the handbook, because I haven't had an opportunity to go through the disciplinary handbook of the PSL. But I doubt that the executive committee of the PSL can get authority to be able to second guess or even to willy-nilly set aside an arbitration award which is binding and which is of the nature that has been made by the disciplinary committee. I wouldn't want to venture into whether or not this award is correct you know, because that's not what I'm called to do. But I'm basically dealing with the process of challenging arbitration awards once they have been made, you know, by the authorities or the necessary bodies with authority to be able to make those awards. I'm prepared to take questions from the viewers and from the participants if there are any. But that's the long and short of the legal force of an arbitration award that is currently in question, and which is the subject of the discussion this morning.
Right. I will say, the viewers out there, please just ask questions in many ways. You can ask on the platform questions, but before you do that, please just subscribe and do the like and make comments, ask questions, and then if we'll call Advocate to come again to explain the question that we are asking. But one question that I would want to know, as a layman advocate, as a man in the street who doesn't understand the legal jargons, my understanding of the legal or the dispute, it involves the parties. In this case, I expect Sekhukhune and Polokwane City, am I right, Jackie? And probably the team that was supposed to win the league as an aggrieved. I expected those people to be the ones lodging the appeal, as compared to the PSL taking the matter upon their hands without anybody having appealed from those players, the role players that are involved. Jackie, while the advocate is looking at the role players, which is Sekhukhune, Polokwane City, have they appealed? Or is just PSL on its own taking its own initiative? Because if that is the case, that's why I want Advocate to come in. I have a problem.
Yeah, can I come in?
Yeah, before you come in, I want to know that, Jackie, any of the three parties, have they lodged an appeal?
No, there's no official law lodging of any appeal among those three teams.
About those
that you just spoke about, yes.
It is a PSL initiative.
Yes, it's a PSL initiative,
okay.
And they are appealing to SAFA.
All right. Advocate, we can come in. I want clarity on that one.
Look, let's look at it this way. Let's say there's an arbitration award issued by the commissioner of the CCMA under the auspices of the CCMA. The question is, can the CCMA take that particular award on review? The answer to that is no, because they are not a party to a dispute. They are, in fact, a body that has been charged with the responsibility of resolving that dispute. They are a referee. They can't throw punches. They can't participate in the boxing match. You know, all they need to do is to adjudicate between the parties. Remember, the parties that are in dispute here are the clubs themselves, you know. So, for example, if the award that has been made favors Sekhukhune as against Tshepang United, not Tshepang United, Polokwane City.
Polokwane City,
yeah. Polokwane City are the ones that have to take this particular award on review or to appeal against that decision at the highest level. It cannot be the PSL. And there's a common law rule in law. They say when a party has made a decision, that party itself cannot be seen to be the same that reverses that decision. You know, they are functas officio. That's how they put it. So the PSL is functas officio because they have taken a decision. That decision belongs to the PSL, and they can't review their own decision. It's only another body that can do so. But at the same time, they can themselves all of a sudden be a party to a dispute that exists between Sekhukhune United and Polokwane City. And just to add more, even the team that got promoted, as well as the one that is likely to face relegation as a result of that particular decision.
Now, so those are some of the issues that are glaring, which we want clarity on this matter. I'm happy that you gave us per law what does it mean, because the way it doesn't sound well. It sounds like PSL becomes a referee and a player on this particular subject. But I'm happy that you disclose that you haven't looked at the handbook. Maybe the handbook is talking about something. Let me ask this question. Do you think the handbook, as much as you said this arbitration, it's of different nature, is it possible for the handbook to go further and give the body, which is PSL, whereby the disciplinary hearing belongs to them, it can be allowed to participate if they are not happy with the decision? That's one thing that I want to, I'm just asking, it's a hypothetical question.
Yeah.
Moreover, you have never looked at the handbook. So that is why I'm saying it's hypothetical. One, that's one thing. Secondly, one of the issues that I heard when Ntwentle was outlining, the PSL was saying there were a lot of options, all right, that could have been taken by the presiding officer. Now the question is, if that option of docking the points was one of the options, and I decide as a presiding officer that I go that route, will that be wrong?
Yeah, maybe you are right. Let's crystallize it so that the viewers, for the benefit of the viewers, what the PSL is alleging in respect of this award, they are saying that the disciplinary committee failed to exercise its powers. That's what they are saying. And they are saying they failed to exercise its powers in terms of Rule 57.13.16. What they are actually saying is that the committee did not do what it was required to do in terms of that particular rule. They're saying instead of imposing that sanction, they should rather have docked the 3 points in terms of 57, 13, 17. So, which means now they are saying the sanction that has been meted out by the disciplinary committee is wrong, it's incorrect, because it should have been based on another rule, but instead they applied another rule, you know. So that's basically what they're saying. But now to come back to your question, if you have a variety of sanctions within your handbook and you have a disciplinary committee that has a discretion to exercise in respect of the applicable sanctions, you cannot later, when one of the sanctions has been pronounced, cry foul. So in other words, I'm saying if the sanction of awarding Sekhukhune 3 points is provided for in the handbook, then it is not in the PSL's place to second guess the final sanction that would have been pronounced by the disciplinary committee. Now, you asked whether the handbook incorporates a provision which gives the PSL authority to set arbitration awards aside. I doubt. And I'll give an example, even though I have not read the handbook. I'll give an example. You can't have the rules of conduct of the proceedings of the CCMA incorporating a provision to the effect that the CCMA itself has the authority to set an arbitration award aside. That cannot happen, you know, because the authority to set an arbitration award aside has to lie somewhere else. And I'm glad that I had Jerry indicating that that review actually has been, if I heard him correct, he said that the review has been escalated through to SAFA, if I heard him correct. If that is what has been done, then SAFA it's an upper body that I think should be in a position, you know, to deal with that matter. But I'm a bit worried about the party that raises the discontent, because that party is not a party.
That's my concern. And now you have said something that the PSL is questioning the rule that has been used. I'm saying, what empowers them to challenge that? Because I expected that to be part of the people who are appealing to the higher body, like SAFA, and say, look, we are challenging this because these people applied the wrong rule. And remember, the arbitrator, once the matter goes to SAFA, it's out of the arbitrator now.
Exactly.
It's a different ball game altogether. So, you know, those are some of the issues. But viewers out there, I'm sure you hear what we are asking. Let's say after today, and then the outcome has come to satisfy everybody, we'll call Advocate Mahantola next week. And please just lay your hands on the handbook. Let's look at the handbook, whether it is in favor of Sekhukhune or not, so that we give clarity on the issues that we're discussing. Continue to ask questions, and you'll see that at the end of our show, there is a WhatsApp number. Just drop us a WhatsApp number. And over and above, we also have our sports program on Facebook. You can join that group if you want. It is called the Big R Solution Sports Program Forum. Join that group, ask the question on that Facebook, on that particular platform, and then we'll avail those questions to Advocate Mahantola so that next week he gives us more information. Remember, we are more of education. We are trying to educate you. We are not challenging anyone. We are not condemning anyone. We just want to understand so that at the end of the day, we are all being empowered as we engage with some of these issues going forward. So in a nutshell, that's what I would say. Advocate, I don't know in your closing remarks what you want to say, but before your closing remark, let me ask my co-host, there's anything that you'd like to ask or add on what Advocate Mahantola has said so that we can defer this to next week and wrap it up irrespective of whatever outcome. Tshepang, let me start with you. There's anything you'd like to ask Advocate?
No, personally on my side, you said a mouthful. Honestly, I'm just looking forward to the end result, you know, and to the end ruling on what's going to happen, so that the advocate also can kindly explain to us once the ruling is out, based on his opinion and his experience, is it fair or not? So that's something that's only lingering in my head, if Royal AM are guilty or not guilty actually at the moment. So that's just all I'm waiting for. But thanks to the advocate and to the knowledge that he has given us. And yeah, thank you very much.
I'm happy that you are learning last born. That's very good. Jackie, come in, my brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Advocate, thank you very much for the education, my brother. We really appreciate it so much. There's only one question that I would like to pose to you. Looking at your experience and looking at the case itself, because now it has gone through to SAFA now, do you think that it might come with a different outcome, whereby they will say, no, we're reversing, we're giving no 3 points, we're charging Polokwane City 100,000, and that is final? Do you think that kind of a situation can happen?
Yeah, look, I don't think we will be in a position to predict what the possible outcome might be. But what I would like to challenge everyone to do, before I challenge, and I'm saying this in closing, The employer, I'm using this deliberately, the employer takes disciplinary action against an employee. It appoints a committee to deal with that particular disciplinary inquiry. The chairperson of the disciplinary inquiry finds the employee guilty, and then he pronounces a sanction of a final written warning. Now the question is, can the employer appeal the decision of the chairperson of a disciplinary inquiry? So I'm leaving the question to you, but the other thing is, if you look at, I want you to go and look at the Ajax matter.
Yes,
because
yes.
the particular case which was handled by the disciplinary committee of the PSL that involves Ajax. I think they featured a player called Ndoro.
Yes.
Then I would like to challenge you to also look at there was another case, the Sundowns one. Ne? So that when we meet next week, we have to be able to contrast and to compare, you know, how the PSL conducts itself in respect of similar cases, whether or not the PSL applies the rule consistently, you know. I challenge you, I would like you to go and have a look at that. That information is available everywhere. Just go into the internet, do research, check that Ajax matter in respect of Ndoro, check the Sundowns matter, compare it with this one, and then let's have a discussion again next week.
In brief, Advocate, just give us what happened to the Ajax matter to those at least who are not privy, and the one of Sundowns in brief.
No, if you recall, I think it was a matter relating to Ndoro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ajax Cape Town was charged 5 charges of misconduct arising from the club fielding Mr. Ndoro in various matches. Ne? So, and then at the same time, there was also an appeal by Polokwane City, and that's where it brings the issue of the parties into the picture. Polokwane City was involved. They were the complainants. The complainant was not the PSL. Ne? And but remember, the match that was involved was not a match between Polokwane City and Ajax. It was a match between SuperSport United and Ajax Cape Town, where Mr. Ndoro was fielded when he was not supposed to be fielded, you know. And then there was an award made. I don't want to get into that award. There was an award made. I would like you to go and have a look at that award and then tell me what are your views in that regard. And then there was also a matter of Mamelodi Sundowns fielding a player known as Wayne Arendse when they were not supposed to field that particular player. Now, you must look at the decision that the arbitration award made in that regard. Ne? I think in this regard, the PSL decided not to do anything. And that resulted in a team from Polokwane, Black Leopards, being relegated as a result of the fact that the PSL did nothing about the fact that Mamelodi Sundowns fielded Arendse. The reasoning of the PSL in that decision was that in any case, even if they were to dock Sundowns 3 points, Sundowns would have won the league. But is that the reasoning that should be advanced for justifying why action is not taken? So hence, when I closed, I said that let's investigate whether or not there's consistent application of these rules by the PSL.
All right.
Yeah.
You know why I was asking this particular question? It was deliberate.
Yeah.
Deliberate in the sense that should this thing be judged wrongly, it may open up a can of worms.
Exactly.
Those parties that you have mentioned, like your Black Leopards, Sundowns, Ajax, they may want to say, let's revisit our matter. So that is why I was saying, can you, in brief, so that our viewers, as they do research, as one of the big R principle, at least they know what is the reason. And one of the things in parting, before you leave, as I heard Jackie was saying, I think that was when we were speaking on Saturday morning, was one of the reasons why PSL was livid was the fact that the other team, I don't know whether it's Polokwane team, could not field all their players because they were affected by COVID-19.
Yes.
So that was the motivating factor. Now, we don't know in terms of the special acts of COVID-19, the relationship there. But I'm just giving it to you. And I said to Jackie, those arguments, there were arguments that were supposed to be brought forward during the arguments before the presiding officer could give an award. So that was one thing. Now, the other thing that Jackie said, when you listen very well, the reason, one of the reasoning people are questioning, this thing happened in January, why now? Now, I'm asking you, Advocate, is it not a question of justice delayed is justice denied?
Indeed, it is. Especially if it is going to decide about the outcome of which team sits where on the log. Because this is about the fate of not only those teams that should be promoted, but about also those that are likely to be relegated. So it's a life and death situation. And I am not in agreement that when you make a decision, you have to make it after such a long time, because then it renders your disciplinary processes a mockery, you know.
Now, but the question still remains. The parties involved never lost any appeal. So guys, we leave it there. We are not judging anyone. We are just trying to educate. And then we continue to ask questions. Remember, when you ask questions, that will enlighten us. Remember, it does not mean that we are having the monopoly of knowledge. No, you may know better than us and argue better than us. So, you know, that is why God created people to communicate. You know, when you want to understand the relationship of communication, where it started, if you're a Christian, just like me, I'm not condemning other religions. They say God created Adam. Then after that, he realized that no, Adam cannot be alone. Then he created a woman. That was communication. So hence we are doing this. Communication so that we clarify issues. Advocate, thank you very much. It was very insightful information. We really appreciate. We thought it would take 10 minutes. It has taken more than 10 minutes. So much appreciated. Thank you very much. We will talk. Jackie, much appreciated. And then
thank you very much, Advocate. Thank you, Mr. Tau. Thank you, Tshepang.
Thank you, Advocate. Thank you. We'll talk.
Thank you.